Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson, blending survival fiction and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hello, and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 355. And I'm actually calling this season 13 on my podcast, but it is episode 1 for the launch of the Changing Earth Audio Drama season 2. So, whoop, whoop, yay. Man, I'm so excited to have it up, have people listening to it, give me feedback, because, man, it's like, I'm like, what other thing have I ever worked on so long to like finally bring it to you guys? Like, I could do a book in like a couple months, you know, but Jiminy Christmas, this audio drama has been a big project. I'm going to put it that way. I'm still finishing up 2 episodes and the last 2. So
yeah, I listened to the first one today as I was working. I like the horses and stuff as the like the road noise as they were walking along.
Yep.
Taking their pop shots.
Yeah, I had to do the carts, everything in motion, right?
Yep, yep. That was good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the hardest things for me to find was like the noise of a city without the cars. Right? Because I was like, you can't have cars driving around, beep, beep. You know, that doesn't really work in this world. So
just look at audio from 2020.
Yeah. No, that'd be like. So
we don't say too much, we won't get banned. That's right. Move on from there.
That's right. So we had the binge episodes last weekend, and it was a blast. Great show, and you can find those audios up all over the waves now, and I have them on my membership page over at changingearthseries.com as well. So, so I don't even know if I was going to bring this to the air, but my co-host talked me into it. So a little inside baseball last time, you guys. If you're on the live feed, you get a little bonus every now and then.
So. What happens when I'm not around?
I know Chen was not here to keep me in
Party
line.
Down.
Like, call me up and be like, "Hey, ding dong, turn off your stuff."
I couldn't do the little side chat. Sidebar.
Yeah,
Sarah.
I mean, you'd literally have to start calling me up because my phone. I wasn't even looking at it anymore. Yeah.
I did see some of the side chats go light up. I looked at my phone real quick. I was like, whoops.
Yeah.
She's having a good time right now.
I'm like, man. So I guess I fall into the ranks of Snoop Dogg and the president there, leaving my live.
Presidents, there's been multiple people in power that do it. So you're in good company.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I had to kick myself around over that one for a while. To give myself a little mental anguish over that one, but I got over it pretty quick.
Yeah,
at least I wasn't talking.
Fun to laugh at.
I wasn't talking all that smack about you. You know.
I know you deleted it right away, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'll have to put the word out on the street to see what you really said.
I was on it. I was like,
he didn't show up. That loser.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut his pay.
No new car for you this year.
Damn.
So yeah,
good stuff.
Today just wanted to kind of go through the audio drama. Hopefully you guys have listened to it. If you haven't, head on over to my website, changingearthseries.com. All the links are there. It's just the easiest place for me to send you all to. Like, it's up on a whole bunch of different streamers and all this stuff as well. But you guys all use different platforms and all these things. So if you want to find it and find it for sure, just head on over to my website, changingearthseries.com. And the first episode is live there now. Been getting some great feedback all day on it. And I really, really appreciate feedback. I've worked for a long time on this project, and that's actually how you and me got such a good friendship.
I was going to say, if you give Sarah enough feedback, you might be a co-host someday.
Right? Exactly.
Because I would shut up. I was constantly throwing stuff at you.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Like, as you're reading, you're like, no, why would you do that? You can't.
When you slammed the door in Erica's face.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I really, really do love it and appreciate it. And it's always great to know that you guys are like thinking about the projects that I'm working on and enjoying it with me, or you've got some creative feedback for me, something I can fix, that kind of thing. For example, I did turn up the volume on them a little bit from feedback from one of the listeners. So, things like that, if you're experiencing something and, it's not just your speaker or your system or whatever, let me know, because it goes a long way. And from my end, everything can look sunshine and roses. And then there's something I'm not seeing. So I appreciate that. I love having you guys involved with the story. And it's kind of entertainers, feed, like how I get paid is by knowing that you guys are enjoying it,
Right.
really. So, there's a lot of work in, and I'd love to share that joy with you. So please feel free to give me feedback. All right. So we start off episode 1 with Erica on the trail with the horses and the rain, just relentless rain. And Jen's like reeling from Chin, by the way, everybody plays Harold. So you can give him props. He did a great job on his character this season. Really good job. You did. You really brought it. So did Rhonda. I mean, you guys sounded great. So,
Don't quit our day jobs. Oh, wait, I did. No.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We can get going with Hollywood. So, in this scene, one of the things that I really key in on is like the realities of bugging out. Like, it used to be my game plan to like, we're bugging out. As soon as anything happens, we're bugging out, right? And then the more that I really rationalized like the realities of scavenging the woods for food.
Right.
And how many other people are going to be out there scavenging the woods for food, right? These kids, my kids, they're all used to electronics and having all this life just kind of handed to them and everything. And then you're going to take them out into the woods for like 3 to 6 months. Because that's, 3 to 6 months, that's when a lot of the population, unfortunately, that's not going to make it, is not going to be here anymore. It's like, really, you're going to take them out there that long? They're going to go psycho, and you're going to go psycho dealing with them.
Think about that weekend camping trip.
Yes, right? Where's the Wi-Fi, Mom? Come on.
Yeah.
So, I understand there's a lot of hardening that everybody will have to do. But specifically, if that's your plan, you better really, really think through that. The other thing that I really point out in this one is the horses, right? So in a fictional land, you can take a horse, you can put a saddle on it, it's good to go. You can put a cart on it, it's good to go. The reality is that most horses nowadays are like little more than dogs in a pasture.
Right.
Like they're not used to working anymore. They're not used to having to do this thing. And if you think you're going to take a horse that's never had a cart put on it before and just like make a makeshift harness system for it and hook this cart up to this animal and they're just going to pull it, no. That horse is going to be freaked out. Something's behind them. Something's touching them. That's why they wear blinders and whatnot, so they can't see what's behind them. There's a whole lot of training that goes into getting that animal actually ready to do that. That is one thing where a fiction author can have a little privilege with,
Right.
Well, we're just going to take this animal and make it happen. But in reality,
it's a whole different bag.
A
A horse took out Superman.
right? Yeah. Things like that happen. They literally have like airbag suits you can buy now for like riding a horse. Yeah. So that if you get kicked off, it inflates and you stay safe. The people that do the cross country jumping, even in the Olympics, they wear those airbag suits.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that like if they fall off, it and protects their neck and stuff like that. So
Cool.
I did a great interview in the past with Lisa Goodwin on this. So honestly, there's tons of info over there. You can always hit up Lisa. She does budget equestrian, and she'd be more than happy to talk to you about that kind of stuff. The thieves come, right, to steal their food. And, their first instinct is to just shoot these people at this point. We're 3 months.
Let God sort them out.
Yeah. We're 3 months after the collapse, 3 months and a week or so, right? So the timeline we're going to stay attentive to as we go through this audio drama, because 3 months is right in the middle of the dying time. So there's going to be some desperate people out there. They haven't had food for a long time. What they were relying on probably is depleting, You're at the point where things are going to get really difficult really fast. So it's definitely something you need to think about now before that happens.
And that's the conversation between Vince and Erica brought to light.
Right.
They kind of talked that out.
Yeah. It was like, what do we do? How do we handle that? And then, they had to go steal stuff. And it was like, well, yeah, but we took it from bad people. Well, still, like Doug says, it just depends what side of the aisle you're on, right? Who the bad people are, or what camp you're a part of,
right?
Right. So the other thing is clean water at that point. So there's a lot of river systems that would be compromised because we actually have chemical facilities and things like that use that river. And right now there's lots and lots of safety systems in place to make sure that no waste or minimal waste gets into that waterway, that kind of thing. And 3 months post collapse, you're looking at a lot of those safeties failing. And so even if you do know how to purify water, even if you're aware that you need to do that, which a lot of people, in urban areas and whatnot wouldn't even think about, they just want some water. They're just going to start drinking water. But now you have that chemical element where you have no idea what's upstream or what's around. And gosh, I saw this story even in the Midwest. Somebody contracted like a brain-eating amoeba from one of the beaches that they closed down this beach in Iowa, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. But, there's all kinds of like things that... yeah, you're going to have to think about. And so that's why I kind of lean back, especially at this time, to like distillation is the best way to get any kind of chemical contaminants out of it, unless you like you're a scientist and you can do like molecular division, to remove that chemical. No, it gets that bad. Like some chemicals, they'll like bond to that H2O. So, there's some serious stuff that even distillation can't take care of. So it's really, really important that you know that your water is safe to drink when it comes down to it. Purify it, do the best you can, and, say your prayers, right? Because you need that water. You only got 3 days without water. Okay, weather. So Erica's dealing with the rain, right? Intense rain. Well, like, I don't know how many of you, I've got tarps in my go bag, right? Plus I got a tent. But like all that stuff only lasts so long too. Like once the wind starts whipping.
How's that tent do in the rainy times of Western North Carolina?
Yeah, exactly. That was my next. Like things you think are waterproof aren't. Like it can rain like you can produce rain inside your tent too. Like even if your tent is waterproof, you can produce
that's crazy. Like condensation.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So it can be like raining in your tent just because of the condensation and stuff. So all really serious considerations. Now I know why Steve, he had that really cool heating system from the fireplace.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome for your tent, right? So, I mean, you could just pipe that thing in there and you'd be so cozy, warm, and dry.
Yep.
But North Carolina also taught me that my go bag is not waterproof. And I totally thought it was. It's like lined and stuff. And so, again, these things you think are waterproof aren't. So I went to all Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good test. So I went to all Ziploc bags for all my clothes and stuff like that inside, which was a blessing in disguise because everything packed smaller that way.
Yeah, we've been using it just for regular travel, like when we go on vacation, because we organize like our daily like socks, undies, and stuff, and
Right.
put them in a bag, and then you roll it up. So like in the morning, you just grab the bag, boom.
Right. And now you can put your
So
dirty ones.
and it packs nice and tight and small, and it's organized. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. So that was a major lesson learned and, just tips. But if you've never been out there, you've never experienced these kind of things.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to learn really, really quick, And
I mean,
then
tent camping is a really good way of testing stuff out.
yes. Yeah. And then extreme heat and cold. So right now, Texas is freaking hot. Okay, we're breaking records. It's going to be like 110 today with a real feel of like 117.
Wow.
It is, yeah. So like everybody's inside in their air conditioning, right? And so now they're projecting power outages for Monday because we're just using so much power. So, I mean, if you're in extreme heat or extreme cold, you think you're going to bug out. You need to start thinking about these things ahead of time because 3 hours, right?
I mean, if you have to tend the garden or if you have edibles, you have to be out there. I mean, you can't.
Yep. Yeah, I'm still out there. I wait till nighttime.
Building a house,
I wait till evening.
Stuff you got to do. You can't not do it.
Exactly. You have, like my chickens have to be taken care of no matter what. The garden's got to be watered or it's going to be dead. The trees have got to be watered or they're going to die.
Working in an office where you just sit in the air conditioning.
Right. When you're, and when you can't sit in the air conditioning and you still have to attend to all those things, right? So that's something else to think about in like the bug out situation. 3 hours in extreme temperatures without shelter, and that could be serious trouble for you, whether it's extreme hot or extreme cold.
Well, like you said, you really got to time your stuff during the day.
Right.
It's important to try, if you can, to try to time during mornings and
early
late
morning,
afternoon, evening.
And then evening. And for me, like I have a floodlight that literally lights up my garden at night, so I can even go out and water like in the middle of the night if I want to. I'm becoming nocturnal in this heat. We'll put it that way.
Right?
All right, then we move on to Swenson's chapter. And Swenson was having breakfast with Teresa. And it was
talking about decorating.
Yeah, talking about his decorations of his house. And his woman hanging on his wall, but we'll get there. So, Swenson's this real minimalist, right?
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about how much crud we have. Like, have you ever seen the movie Spaceballs? And he's like, take what's only essential. And she's got like these huge trunks and the giant blow dryer and stuff. Like, when it comes down to it, what do you really need to survive? We have reliance on so many things that really aren't necessary to keeping us alive. It's more so keeping us entertained, right?
Yep.
So I have a feeling that with where our economy is going, everything's going, that we've grown accustomed to this life. Like we're like the ancient Romans, right? We have stuff from everywhere that comes in and we don't even think about it. Yeah. We don't think that our bananas just traveled X amount of miles to get here. We don't think that our blueberries just came X amount of miles. Our meat just came X. Everything's coming from all over the world to feed Americans. And
we want the same menu.
Yeah.
Every month of the year. That's not what it's going to be.
Right. And that's not even realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So we've grown accustomed to this really artificial life, which is one of the reasons why I wrote my books, actually, because, credit cards weren't introduced to the 80s, like 1980, right? And that's what gave Americans the buying power to really expand their lives above what they could afford, basically.
If you want really the power.
Yeah.
And it was the chains.
Yeah, it was. It was. It just sank everybody in debt. But we could all have these lives where we have the boat to go out on the weekend, and we have this to do, and we have all this stuff. Well, do we really need all this stuff?
Right.
You know, is that really a reality? So getting into Swenson's character on a whole, his character was really created to show the realities of the types of people that are out there that are just laying in wait to seize power when chaos falls. And they're out there. They're already used to fighting for their position. They're already used to, ruling with an iron fist over the people they are right now. And these people already exist. And you take away laws, it would just give them the moment to really grow and take over, certain regional areas.
Well, you see that when you take away the enforcement of laws. We've seen that. All our past couple summers of love have shown what happens
right?
when cops are told to stand down.
Right. What happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even when cops aren't told to stand down, like in Katrina, the Superdome, you put them all in one spot. Now you have crime rates that are through the roof, this kind of thing. So communities and groups are going to be key to protecting your family, your people from those people, basically. And then the law of large numbers, even if you have a group, the law of large numbers is always going to win unless you have superior firepower. So it's all just food for thought as far as that goes on like the potential, of what you could be up against. What are you going to do if 200 people show up with a rocket launcher? I mean, get the heck out of Dodge if you can. Don't, it's not worth making your stand for.
It's kind of like driving, like there's a brake and a gas pedal, right? So sometimes you need to use the gas, sometimes you need to use the brake. You ever been like on a merge, like on the interstate, and people don't know that the gas is an option?
Yes.
You can speed up. You don't have to like slow down.
Yep.
You ever been like side by side with a car and they just keep slowing down and you're trying to be courteous to let them in and they just don't give it gas to get out in front of you?
Yes.
So so like you're saying, sometimes sometimes you stay, sometimes you gotta go.
And then for me, it's pretty much the opposite. Like there is a brake option. Like you don't always have to just gun it through to like be up there. You can like brake option exists too. All right, so then we go into Vergis. His first act, it's his house, right? They walk in and it's really showing off his house. I love Monroe's line. I love James's line about, cool stereo system, right? But he's got all these food stores.
Yep.
He's been preparing for that rainy day when who knows, and it's just going to be really, really essential that the more you can do now, well, it's, we have no idea what prices are going to go to, what the food supply is going to look like. So it's essential that you start planning now with as much long-term food as you can, having canned foods behind that, and then knowing how to grow your own food, and then knowing what to forage in your area and neighboring areas as well. Because if you have to go on the move, it's almost more important for you to know what to forage in those other areas, unless you plan on just circling around your house or something like that. Right? So that's why I talk about
your animals too. I mean, now that I'm like outside of suburbia and thinking about animals and livestock, you got to plan ahead. I mean, what if you can't go to the feed and seed store? What if that's not an option? How are you going to care for your animal?
Yeah, like I grow lettuce right now, and you're like, dude, lettuce in the heat? Well, yeah, I grow the lettuce because I feed it to the chickens in the summertime when it doesn't taste good to us, right? But the chickens love it. They get a little fresh snack, that kind of thing. So, that's where I've gone to, is to think about, okay, what would we supplement with if we had to? And my dogs eat like tons of bugs, and it's gross. Like, it's disgusting. But on the same note, they're already, I don't scold them for that, because what if I didn't have food to feed them?
Do they eat the bags of barbecue or just the plain flavored bugs?
Yeah, they eat the plain flavored. I like killed this huge spider the other day, and Ragnar comes by. He's like, bloop, and I'm like, oh. Then he's like playing with it. I'm like, oh, okay, no, that's just gross. So I think that one was a wolf spider too. So I was like, no. But the grass spiders, whatever, and like the June bugs, they eat all those. So, I mean, we really have to think outside of the box when we get to that point. And sorry to say, but a lot of animals are going to die too, along with everything else. So,
I shared this with Dave, and he said, you got to mention this at the show. So, okay, here I go, Dave. This one's for you. But you got to, like, even now when things haven't totally collapsed, but they're starting to get tough.
Really tight.
You have to think outside the box for sources. I actually found a local like mom and pop grocery store that I can get the leftover produce, like when they pull it off the rack, and I'm starting to feed some animals with that.
Right.
So increase your net, like James always talk about, network and working with your people in your neighborhood and local sources and stuff.
Yep.
And just start paying attention when you're looking around, and befriend people, and you might be able to find a source so you could maybe you're not buying all the feed from the feeded seeds tack shop, but you can save that money, use it for other things, right?
Yep.
And other prep supplies, and the animals love this stuff. They're getting like a varied diet now instead of just like the pellets.
The same thing from the bag.
Yeah. It's like like they were getting cantaloupe one day,
Yeah.
So it was like candy. They were having a blast running around the pen with it. So think outside the box. Look what your daily life kind of presents you, and try to make it work.
Yeah. The more that you can be self-reliant in the area you're in, allows you to stay.
And that might area. Not be an option, after, bad things are happening. But for right now, it might free up some of your resources to buy some long-term food for you, or get some gardening tools, or get some extra oil for the car, or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever you need on your little to-do list.
Yeah. And forming those relationships now
makes
it a lot more likely that you'll be able to keep them in the future, because they already know you.
I just had a tree cut down. We had a couple trees fall during a storm up here, and then there was a couple trees that were making me nervous hanging over the house. So I had a guy come up and fall them for me, and we were talking, and he was right in line with us, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm a diesel mechanic," because I had to be. Because he's got, a bucket truck and all this other stuff. So now, if I need something done to my truck, I can call this guy up and say, hey, what do you think?
You want him to do a trade?
Yeah.
Right?
So it's just thinking, don't spill the beans with people, but when you're, that's, when you're, he came up to cut down some pretty big trees. It was like 26-inch diameter tree. I just measured it when it was on the ground. So it was fairly big. I didn't want to tackle it myself.
A lot of us think in terms of like, especially because of social media and that, we've pulled in more. So it's more individual, and this is what I need, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going, right? And really expanding that beyond your circle to your community is going to help you, like you say, develop those relationships ahead of time, save money, be able to barter, do all of those things. So
yeah, exactly.
Really, really important. Yeah, super duper important. Okay. So then we're moving on to what were we on? We were on Vergis and the bugging in, because you took us there all without me having to announce it. So that was pretty cool. So Erica, Act 2, she is in the Lotus community, and we get a picture of like how this community is surviving. So everybody has a role to play, right? And a lot of these people didn't occupy that area before the stuff went down. But I can bet you dimes to dollars that after stuff goes down, people are going to congregate together to help each other. And so that's where the tribal unities are really, really going to start taking effect. So is your area a place where people are going to congregate? Like, probably good to know that ahead of time. If you're like located by like this huge like river system where a lot of people are going to come in because there's water and stuff like that, you know, are you ready to handle a community? It would be helpful to have extra people, but how are you going to vet people? How is that all going to play out? So that's a great thought exercise to do. We were looking at like Knoxville, Tennessee to live there before we moved here. And we just decided that like if something happened East Coast wise, there'd be so many people coming through there that it's not really a good place to be, you know, unless you've already pre-thought that. So that was one of the things that, you know, really went into looking for a new place for us is, you know, is that going to be a major route? That's a major route through the Appalachians to get through. So you can just imagine that you're going to have tons of refugees going through there. Now you have to decide, like, can you help lead and organize this chaos? You've been studying stuff. Can you help make a difference so that other people can stay safe and everybody can stay fed and taken care of? Idle hands are the devil's playground, right? So busy people are going to stay out of trouble. Give people jobs and make them productive. You know, what did you do before this happened? How can you be of use now, basically? And stress is going to be off the charts. Tensions are going to be super high. And everybody at that point will be suffering from PTSD. Like on a blanket board. Some more so than others, but you're going to have some serious social traumas going on as well. So having people that are counselors that can just get along with people and help to organize people in a really positive way, it's going to be so important. Unless you're going to just rule with an iron fist, you know, and that's, I mean, there's a couple of different ways of looking at it, but I'd like to think that, you know, people could naturally come together on a, well, you know, you gotta have the big man upstairs in your life too, because you gotta have the values there, or else people don't know what to stand on. So, another thought process that I went through on this one is, you know, having centralized stores, so everybody put your stuff in the storehouse, versus everybody keep your own stuff, right? And I can't tell you which way is better or which way is not. You know, people are always going to feel like, oh, well, I didn't get enough, right? If it's a centralized deal, like, oh, well, you gave them a little bit more than you gave me or something like that. You know, you're going to get all kinds of that going on. But if people are individually keeping all their stuff, then, you know, they're going to hoard it from others or whatnot. And then others are going to be like, well, I'm going to come take that from you kind of thing. So, I mean, you can see problems either way. If you are doing a central stock, I mean, you need honest people to guard that stuff, because what would stop them from just being like, oh, I get a little extra tonight, you know? Like when you're the berry picker, eat 2 and put 10 in the container and then eat 2, right? I mean, so this is human nature. And so you're going to have close inventory charts. Like you need to make sure that your system, everybody can look at it and be like, yeah, that's fair. Right. Right.
Yeah. You need to, like an open source.
Yes. Like I didn't get
like
the short end of the stick.
Software that's open source that, you know, so everybody can, it's secure because everybody can see it and monitor and kind of.
Right. And another area that I don't touch in my book, because everybody has their own individually, but ammo, right? Like, do you put that into a central storehouse? Or do you get to keep your own ammo? Or like, you know, how's that all working? Because you need a certain amount for your guards, for this and that to happen. And I never really touch on that in my stories, but I started thinking about it, and I was like, that would be a big deal. Like, oh, I still have, you know, tons of boxes left and you don't have any. Well, I guess you don't get to go on guard patrol anymore because you're out of bullets, you know?
It really depends on the relationships in the community.
Right.
And that's kind of why it's best to build now.
And you can, well, that's the thing too. Like you can set up mag groups and everything like that now. But when it comes down to it, like, for example, when the Oroville Dam almost went in Roseville, I didn't have a second thought about, like, all my friends that lived in that area, please come stay at my house. You know? I have like a handful of friends down there that were in harm's way if that dam went. So it's like, please come stay at my house. You know, that's the right thing to do. What if something more happened after that event happened, and now I'm stuck with these people, right? And they're all my friends and stuff. But did you ever plan on like surviving long term with them? Have you ever lived with them for like a couple months? You know, it could be a totally different scenario than what you thought, and so that can cause tensions to rise. And so, yeah, you can have a mad group. Yeah, you can have like the best laid plans out there, but who knows what's going to happen and where you're going to be when it happens. So you better start like understanding just personality types, things like that, so you can really work with strangers, honestly, because you're going to have them in your group. And the Christian thing to do, you know, is take care of one another and not just be like, oh, I don't know who you are. Get the hell out of here. You know, it's just very, very tough lines that are going to have to be walked in that situation. Okay, so we're on to Swenson. Oh, boy, I better move faster. Swenson Act 2. So leaders with too much power develop God complexes.
Yeah, he's talking to that kid.
Are you right? And that's David Diaz. That would be Mr. James's son. So nice. Way to go, Carter. Yes, he did a really good job. And yeah, he does a couple of characters in the story. So they are like, well, I do such a good job of leading that everybody should be worshiping me, right? I know what's best for everybody. I don't know any leaders in our world right now that... Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
This is going to affect even close relationships. So even as best friends, you know, are like, hey, dude, what's going on with you kind of thing. And really, I've studied a lot of these types of characters because of designing Swenson and whatnot. And for example, like the emperor that united Japan, he ended up going insane. Many of the big uniters out of Greece, they all ended up going insane at the end of their life. And so there's just a lot of psychological torture that happens to them as well, because they're always looking over their shoulder. They're always thinking that everybody's out to get them. And they're trying to do such huge jobs that I guess in that way you do have to give them a little bit of leeway. But on the same note, you know, now you have these like psychotic people leading you. So that's, I don't know, you know, well, I mean, we might look at it back in history and be like, yeah, that's the time period we were in. All right, let's jump into Vergis, Act 2. So Vergis, Ginger comes to visit. And it's funny because they're all like, who's at the door? Cover me, you know, and it's Ginger. My mom actually plays Ginger, so that was cool. My mom did a voice, and she actually does Ginger's voice. So, anybody with survival knowledge, military strategy knowledge, food production knowledge, medical knowledge, these people are going to be highly sought after. You know, just with that situation we had with Brock the other day, it really made me think about, you know, how important it is to have a medic with us, these kind of things. So are you ready to fulfill your role? Basically, you know, you're the one learning this stuff now. You're going to have to step up when the time comes. And, you know, as we discuss these moral decisions, they are going to be tough. So you need to have a very firm value system in place now. That you can stand behind, you can believe in, because it is going to be put to the test in every single way. And once, you know, there's the broken glass effect. Once you push one of your values, once you say, oh, that's not so important, I can do this instead, it's easy to make excuses why every other value that you once supported is not important too. So this is going to be a major struggle point for everybody. And then analysis paralysis will also be a killer. You have to have a strong value system so you can act decisively and believe in that decision and be able to confidently present that to other people so that they believe in you too. And without the value system to base things upon, people won't want to follow you. Case in point, let's go, Brandon. All right, Erica is Act 3. So she's like, should we stay or should we go? Right? How do you know to stay or go if you don't have access to information on what's going on elsewhere? So if you don't know that, like, oh, everything's fine over there, we should just go over there. Or like, maybe everything's not fine over there and where we're at right now is like really good, right?
Out of the frying pan into the fire.
Right. So how do you ever know that? Do you invest time and energy into an area that you're planning on leaving? So if you're planning on bugging out, like, are you going to like really want to, stock that area or have gardens at that area, that kind of thing? Do you really have what you need to leave? Have you ever gone camping with just your go bag? Right? Or is it like, oh, I got my cooler and I got all this stuff too. Like, yeah. Well, guess what? You might not be able to. If you're out there, what do you have to provide to a community so that they'll let you in? And that could be stuff or it can be knowledge, and you're here listening, you're here learning. So I'm going to lean towards the knowledge side, and knowledge is power, guys. So do your studying. Some people are going to have more severe PTSD than others. So this is in reference to what Star went through. She should be a little girl that is just rocked in every way, right? But sometimes don't write these kids off. I've known people that had severe trauma as a child, and they should never be anywhere near normal as an adult. And they do incredible things, and they're rock stars, and they're on the ball, and they're really awesome people. So please don't write somebody off just because you think that mentally they'll never be able to overcome the struggle they went through. Be that person that supports them and helps them. All right, Swenson, Act 3. So this is Mr. Lee, like ripping him up because he's just being a turd,
Yep.
And there's so many people out there in the world that cheat and steal and lie, and they will turn on you at the drop of a hat. However, there are still really good, loyal people in this world, and you can form bonds that are tighter than family. Chin. Yep. And so start vetting these people now. Like, know who can you really rely on when the chips are down. Who's going to be there? Who's going to starve with you and still share what they find with you? Who's going to die by your side? Who would take that bullet for you? These people are irreplaceable, and there's not know who they are ahead of time. Who's really been there with you? Who's been there through the good and the bad and the ugly? Because it's easy for people to jump on your bandwagon when things are going good. But the people that stand with you when the chips are down, those are the people that you do not let down in your world. You shouldn't. Or you're one of those. You're one of the others, This is also the first time they mention the adoption program. That Mr. Lee brings it up. And that it's a thought on the table. And I've had this actually confirmed by people in places, Homeland Security, on DMAT teams that have confirmed that maybe not like, it wouldn't be called like the adoption program, but they would definitely be using that labor as labor to help bring the country back online. However that would look, it looks like the adoption program in my story, but that is a reality. It's in those executive orders that would go into effect if they proclaimed a national disaster in our country. So eyes on it, guys. That is a huge, if you ever hear our leaders talking about proclaiming national disasters, that is big time trouble. They have control over everything at that point. So that is a huge red flag for us as a people.
Seems like that kind of stuff's happening more and more and more.
And they allude to it more and more.
Like bigger grabs every time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And all these executive orders, and now, the executive branch is just going to take over. Well, thank you, Supreme Court, for standing up and being the check to the balance that you're supposed to be. So, okay, and then Vergis, Act 3. So he is offered the position of leadership. They want him to come and lead and be that defensive person in that. And
he got out.
I know, right? He's like, I don't want to be a part of this. So knowing when to step up as a leader and when to deter that responsibility to somebody more competent, that is a huge sign of a true leader. And there can be different leaders for different types of activities within the, the communal structure. It would be good to have somebody at the top because you do need that person to make those calls. But knowing when that person is not you is just as important as knowing when that person is you. And like Barry already has the respect of the whole community. If Vergis stepped into that role, would the community be like, oh, well, here comes this military dude just coming back and blah, 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 blah. It could disrupt the whole thing. So he's very intelligent to go, no, this beyond him not wanting to do it personally. It's also a very intelligent thing to say, no, dude, you're already doing it. You're already doing a great job. And way to go. Also, self-sufficiency of the community. Don't give the government a reason to step in to save your community. Be able to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
I will do that.
Enjoy the audio drama. Enjoy the show. Keep watching that weather. Everybody stay free. And until next time, remember, dream.
Sir.